I'm going to be learning Rust kind of as a demo of this learning method that I've been developing over the past decade or so. But also I know that that's not going to be fruitful in that I'm not going to be able to demonstrate a relationship to Rust that proves that this learning method is generalizable. That is impossible, actually. So I'm not really trying to do that, but it is an exercise that I can venture onto and come out the other end knowing more Rust than I started with. That's what I'm doing. I started by looking up Rust docs by Googling that, and I found this page. Rustlang.org has beta docs, and I just tabbed through and I clicked into every page. So these are all of the pages that I'm going to be skimming and then trying to figure out how to name it. I'm not necessarily going to return to these, but I at least want to have some sort of cursory understanding of what's possible. I hope this is 13 things. That would be convenient. So I'm just going to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so 15 links came from this beta page, this beta doc, if I want to call it that, which is good to know. Learning Rust. If you'd like to learn Rust, this is the section for you. The Rust Programming Language, the book. Rust by example. Shows off code and has exercises. Rustlings is for the toolchain. And also has coding challenges. Rust Playground is to try out and share, so I guess that's kind of like a code pen using Rust. Standard Library has extensive API documentation, so this is for completionist mode, basically, as well as code for accomplishing various tasks. So this is figuring out what people would want to use Rust for. So this isn't very completionist mode. This is knowing the kinds of things that Rust considers to be solved problems. Personal documentation, cargo doc open, so that's document generation. Okay, add the flag document private items for when I'm publishing this, I believe. Version history is good for understanding how the language is developing. Sometimes they make it easier over time, sometimes they add features that are meant to keep it on par with other languages or bring developers over from other languages. Rust CBook. Information about the Rust compiler is going to be relevant for my development of my own programming language, Swoop. Rust DocBook is going to be useful also for understanding different documentation tools and what is modern in that consideration space. Clippy Book is going to be interesting because Rust has an interesting philosophical approach to static analysis. So trying to generalize or trying to understand when these lessons pop up in other areas of life, I think are going to be cool. Error listing with Rust C explain. Come with error codes. So I'll have to learn more about what's specific about Rust's error protocol. I know that their error explanation is fantastic, so I'm kind of curious about why. Mastering Rust. The reference is not a formal spec, so I'm kind of curious if there is a formal spec, but I imagine that the implementation is the spec. Style guide describes the standard formatting of Rust code. This is going to be useful for learning the language. Quite familiar. We'll see. Rustnomicon is your guidebook to the dark arts of unsafe Rust. So this is the exceptions. Like, why... I probably can't even really understand when this would be relevant. Unstable book, I'm kind of curious about. I guess this is for features that are in development. Contribution guide. This is kind of like development culture when we're in enterprise settings and we need specific problems solved by specific people, then we would see their shadows cast on walls in these forums, basically. Specialized Rust. Embedded systems, I think, would be good to know. This is something that I would have wanted to start years ago if I wanted to be an expert anytime soon. The embedded Rust book. So these are things that I'm pretty curious about, but we'll get to those if we get to those. Just going through them. The Rust programming language, Rust standard library, release notes, Rust compiler, the cargo book, Rust doc, Clippy, just their static analysis tool, I believe. Error code index. Let's see. 797, assuming those are all consecutive. Nope, missing 3. Introduction, Rust reference. So primary reference, style guide, Rust Nomicon. The unstable book. Feature flags, I see. Getting started, compiler development guide, contribution guide. And then these 2 pages, maybe the embedded Rust book. So this is for people who wanted to know people, and this might be good to consider, but I don't really know how to navigate these waters, so I'm not really going to consider it. And then embedded Rust, I think it's not that long. This isn't that long, so I might just look into it to see kind of what people would consider in this space. So yeah, we'll see. That's 14 things. I might just get rid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm not going to read the release notes. I'm going to consider these 13 things the things that I'm going to dive into for Rust to start learning it in great detail. Add tabs to new group. Learning Rust. Rust reference, I should say. Awesome.